Yeah, back on the SportsMax Zone, we start with track and field. Serrette is back as the president of the National Association of Athletics Administration of Trinidad and Tobago, the NAAATT, following last Saturday's voting congress at Five Rivers Secondary School. Serrette, who gave up the presidency in 2021 to serve as an advisor to the Minister of Sport and Community Development, Shamfa Kodja-Lewis, won comfortably over the incumbent George Comisiong, amassing 56 votes to Comisiong's 21. It was a complete overall for Serrette's slate, with Paul Vassoin elected unopposed as first vice president, Michelle Stout second vice president, former 400-meter hurdles world champion Jehu Gordon elected as general secretary, and Davine Washington as treasurer. Well, the man who also served as the NAAATT's president from 2007 to 2021 joins us now on the SportsMax Zone. Mr. Serrette, welcome to the show. It is a pleasure to have you. How does it feel to be back as the man in charge of track and field in Trinidad and Tobago?
Pleasant good afternoon. The pleasure is mine to be on the show. I guess it's a calling from above. I didn't think that I would have been heading back to the sport in that position, or just probably doing some advisory thing. But having gotten the call from clubs and other key stakeholders, I decided that I would, I have probably had unfinished work to do, and I might as well, accept the offer and go back to assist track and field in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah, 2007 to 2021, the period that you were president of the association. How would you describe that period in Trinidad and Tobago's track and field?
I think we had a good showing during that period. Normally, what would have been over the years from Hazy Crawford to Atto Bolden, there would have been a lull, that lull. And then between Atto and Richard, there was a shorter lull. But then from Richard and the relay teams, we continued to do well. We would have had our best performance at the Olympics in 2012, medaling at Commonwealth Games, World Championships, beating the US in 2017 in the my relay. Jareem picking up a bronze in the 200 Commonwealth Games, Michelle picking up a gold medal, as well as Jareem. So we had a very good showing both at the junior and the senior level, because at the junior level, Keyshawn would have won the World Juniors in javelin, and Marshall Cedeno won the 400. So we were doing quite well, or I would say that we did quite well during that period.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, Mr. Serrette, because I want you to go on a journey with me here, because I want to look at the period that you were president and what Trinidad and Tobago did in that period. And I want to start at the youth and junior levels, the youth level being the under 18 level and the junior level being the under 20 level. So let's start with 2007. Now, for context, Trinidad and Tobago has won 17 medals in the history of the World Under 20 Championships. 10 of those came before your leadership period in 2007. 8 of those were gold medals, 6 of them before you took charge. But let's look at the numbers here. 2008, 1 medal. 2010, 2. 2012, 2. 2014, 1 medal. Note as well that the under 18 years, no medals at all for Trinidad and Tobago in that period up to 2014. Did win 1 in 2015, but the low numbers continued at the under 20s. So there you go. 2015, which was a World Under 18 year, 1 medal. 2016, 1 medal. Then 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, all the way up to your final year in charge, which was 2021. So that is what happened at the junior level. At the senior level now, let's take a look at that. Starting, of course, in Osaka 2007. No medals for Trinidad and Tobago, but immediately following that, slightly better performances. 2 in Beijing, 3 in Berlin in 2009, 1 in Daegu 2011. Not a bad showing in London 2012 at all, with 4 medals there. 1 in Moscow 2013, Beijing 2015, 2. And then you start seeing that gradual decline. So 1 medal in Rio, 2 in London, and then no medals in Doha, no medals in Tokyo. That was 2021. And everything after that, no medals as well, but that is subsequent to your reign in charge. Now, when I look at these numbers, Mr. Serrette, I personally don't see growth. So I hear you saying that from your standpoint, it was a successful period. But for me, looking on from the outside, I don't feel as if it was a successful period. I was also in Trinidad and Tobago a few years ago, and I felt that the sport within the country lacked, passion, that from the support base to young athletes coming through. And I think that is borne out in the numbers at the international level. I don't know if it's the same feeling you get, but I do want to know how you plan to change all of this, how you plan to bring growth to Trinidad and Tobago's track and field, because in my estimation, at least, it's been a gradual decline.
And you're quite correct. And it's sad, though, that, we measure the performance by medals. I mean, at any given competition, there are just 3 medals to be had. And the number of persons competing for the medals. But that is the nature of the sport anyway. As you asked about how we plan to grow the sport, the competition with respect to the environment we operate in now, with the amount of distractions. And if I could use an example, one of my friends was asking his nephew to go out to play football, to take a little sweat. And while the nephew waited inside with FIFA football, uncle outside with boots to go to the savannah. So some of those things are, hindering the sport. But the Ministry of Sport and Community Development has launched a overall program called I Choose Sport, under which we have sport in school and community sport. And we plan to partner and work with the ministry getting into these schools, from the ECC, the primary schools, and the secondary schools, to have the sport introduced in the school and follow up with those athletes or who have been do the talent identification. So there's a number of things to be done. At the junior level, we have our athletes. I think we need to change the mindset. For me, I think majority of athletes are now concentrating on just making a team and not improving performance or even studying podium. So my thing to that is that in my manifesto, if I should say that, I spoke about developing a high performance center, because even when our athletes go out to school in the US, we do not have control over those athletes.
Yeah.
So it means that we have to have our athletes homegrown and have that kind of control to have them in a program where that's medical, the nutrition, we have everything in place to measure and ensure that they are being guided on the right pathway to perform at the best of their ability to realize their true potential when they go on the regional or international stage. I think that's one of the ways we'll have to do it. Cycling would have done it, where they would have brought in a national technical director who would have worked with the federation, identify the talent, and work with those athletes who were identified. We would have experimented back in 2017 when we launched what we call a youth elite program. So we identified 10 athletes, 5 male, 5 females, who we thought would have been podium ready by 2024. Knowing that everybody would not get on the podium, at least 2 persons who were part of that program were actually in Paris this year. But it's more to that. The getting into that mindset of the athletes, understanding what are the expectations and the investment that is being made on them.
Yeah, just one more from me, Mr. Serrette, and I hear you on that, and I do think that is a pretty good plan in terms of the high performance center. Once you have the right infrastructure and the right coaches in those programs as well, because the coaching aspect is so important. You can have all the best facilities in the world. If you don't have quality coaches, then you are unlikely to get success. But beyond that, one of the things I picked up when I was in Trinidad and Tobago a few years ago is if it were another sport, I would say pay to play situation. I guess in this case, it's pay to run. And what I mean by that, in Jamaica, for example, track and field, a lot of the quality comes through the schools, and you have the schools who fund a lot of the programs, yeah? And really and truly, the National Association comes on the back end of that. And I think that is a successful system because it creates a wider range for quality to come from, with support coming from all over. In Trinidad and Tobago, and in other Caribbean countries as well, to have success, you have to be part of a club. To be part of a club, you have to pay. We know in the Caribbean that the ones with the talent are usually the ones who are unable to pay because they are from relatively poor backgrounds. Is there a way to address that specific situation in Trinidad and Tobago, which I think can help to improve the results that you see at both the youth and senior levels?
All right. So, there is such a program which facilitates the athletes. I think they refer to them as poor but talented, so that funding is available for such athletes. Yes, we have the club system, and I think the funding that is provided to the association, even from corporate Trinidad and Tobago, is insufficient to trickle down to clubs. So that's why we have to take the broad aspect and develop programs where we can pull such athletes from the clubs and have them in programs as I indicated, the Youth Elite program, and what we now want to focus on this high performance program.
Yeah.
So that the funding is not there to really trickle down to the clubs, as you were asking there. And it's just that system we are faced with in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah, and you say the name of that program, right? What was it called again? Poor
but talented.
Yeah, but Mr. President, even that name alone would cause a regular person to cringe, right? Because you're thinking about a youngster being put in a program with a name like this. It comes with a stigma and everything like that. So even just hearing you say that to Ricardo just now, I looked at him because, we're thinking about getting youngsters wanting to be involved in the sport, not being seen as a part of a program with such a name, such a stigma.
Well, that is a program that I'm going to be inheriting. I understand that the program is designed to attract the sponsors. And that is what it was referred to in selling the program to the sponsors to get funding, saying that they have these athletes who are unable to fund their training and that those kind of stuff. Yes, I agree with you, to have such a stigma attached to a program, poor but talented. But that is it. That's how it is at the time.
Yeah.
But all those athletes, once we get the right framework up with that high performance center, that will take away all those things.
Yeah, and how long will it take to get this high performance center going? Because we know any infrastructure, any big development like this requires a lot of money, a lot of investment, and most importantly, it requires time. So how long are you looking when you think about it?
This new board has given itself at least 1 year to get the framework up and to get funding and support, to run such a program. We would be advertising for coaches and national technical directors. So, we want that experience and those kind of coaches to come in to run the program. We are also asking for the Ministry of Sport and Community Development to be an investor. There's a Ministry of Youth Development, the Ministry of Education, because some of the athletes may still be school-bound, and we want to ensure that they continue to get their education, and also the Ministry of Health. So those 4 ministries we are looking at, and together with the corporate sponsors to fund that program.
Yeah, and you know, it's always good to say high performance center. We're looking towards bigger, better things, you know, good infrastructure and everything. But in the meantime, Mr. President, are there things in place that you're going to target short term while this high performance center is under construction to ensure that moving forward, when we think about Trinidad and Tobago, we think about competing? And you said, you know, it's a pity that when we think about growth, we talk about medals, but such is the life that we live in, and that's how we count progress, by numbers and what we have to show for it. Are there plans in place? Because I'm just instantly thinking about Julian Alfred coming from St. Lucia, small country, a girl, you know, recognizing her talent, coming to Jamaica to build on herself, put things in place. And of course, she is Olympic gold medalist. Today we talk about her making history and everything. I long for the day that we have a story similar from Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, it could be in the making, because what I am seeing right now is that other than athletes leaving to go to schools in the US, the junior athletes are also now migrating to Jamaica. So we have quite a number of our junior athletes in school in Jamaica. So that is one of the latest trend that is happening. And so, you know, and again, it might be the same Julian Alfred story, they leave Trinidad to go to get the competition and that kind of stuff. But we would want to build on that and to encourage, with that high performance center, to encourage our athletes to stay home. I oftentimes say, I'm not too sure both University of Trinidad and Tobago and the UE, they are doing, you know, much. They are not doing sufficient to attract athletes to stay home.
Yeah, we're out of time, Mr. Serrette, so these questions, I'm just stealing 1 minute to get in some quick-fired questions. You spoke about advertising for coaches and a national technical director. Are you open to having coaches or a technical director from outside of Trinidad and Tobago?
Of course, of course, of course. That's, you know, we would advertise, people would, you know, we'd get the applications, interviews would be conducted, and you know, the best person be selected to be that individual.
Yeah, by the way, Carifta 2025 will be held in Trinidad and Tobago. How much, having taken over the Athletics Association, will you have to do with the preparation for that event?
Well, some work was being done prior to Saturday. And I have been involved from the inception, from being a consultant at the sport company of Trinidad and Tobago. So at the bigger LOC side of it, because there's both track and field and aquatics that would be in Trinidad in 2025. So there's a bigger LOC, and then it breaks down into the national governing body for the implementation aspect. So I have been involved at the higher level. So I am quite involved with what is going to happen for 2025.
Okay, sounds good. So we're looking forward to success there come 2025. Well, we're out of time, Mr. Serrette, but quickly, I know you have said in the last few days that you will also be looking to change the name of the association from the NAAATT to Athletics TTO, which sounds pretty good and is a lot easier to get through as an announcer, as a television presenter. But please, while you do that, get rid of that poor but talented name as well. That one is not going to work.
For sure. I think it probably was done just to attract the sponsors, but definitely that is one of the things I would address. The rebranding of NAAATT to Athletics TTO, because that's part of me. I would have been the one who rebranded NAAATT back then. You know, and you know, it's always to go with my, you know, with my tenure, so that we can evaluate, you know, during Athletics TTO what's going to happen during that period.
Yeah, well, it was put in place to attract sponsors, but it's turning us off here at SportsMax. Anyhow, we're looking forward to seeing you in Trinidad and Tobago for Carifta 2025 next year. Take care, Mr. President. We'll chat again.
Thank you very much.
All right, Ephraim Serrette, president of the, can I just say Athletics TTO, since it's going to be rebranded that? Let's take a break. We'll be back.